Hi everyone. Now when someone starts beekeeping, there's an awful lot of issues to be addressed and things to be sorted out. You've got to have some training, hopefully, so you can find out what the bees do, why they do it, how they do it and when they do it, and what beekeepers are supposed to do to sort of help them. On top of that, you've got to buy quite a lot of equipment. You've got to buy a suit and gloves and all that sort of stuff. You've got to buy beehives, fairly obviously, extractors, all sorts of different things. And then there's the bees themselves you've got to get. And I think when you're starting, one of the things that people tend to overlook is what is actually a fairly big issue to deal with, and that is, where are you going to put your bees? I think there tends to be a feeling that somehow you can get bees, you can stick them in your garden and everything will be fine. Well, I'm afraid that simply isn't true. Bees can be a bit of a problem with your neighbours. A couple of years ago I met Karen, and she had, I think it was 3 swarms in the first year I met her and 4 in the year after. And all of these swarms came from bees that were just the other side of her fence at the end of her garden. Now, unfortunately, the beekeeper was incompetent, had no idea what he was doing, and simply didn't care, or even try to control swarming. And the problem was that Karen was anaphylactic, and I'm sure you know what that means, and so she spent most of the summer staying indoors and not daring to go out in the garden. Last year I met a couple who had done the training. I'm very keen to get started, and they wanted some bees, and a friend of mine knew that I collected swarms, so they put me in contact with me, and I met them, and they were very keen and very enthusiastic, but my friend knew where they were going to put their bees, which is in their garden, and it was far too close to their neighbours, and so eventually we refused to give them any bees. Unfortunately, another beekeeper did give them some bees, and this year at the beginning of the season I got an email from the couple asking if I remembered them, which I did, and saying that the bees were beginning to sting their neighbours and also them, and that they needed to move the bees. I was very tempted to start the email with, "I told you so." So it is an issue, and it can be quite difficult. Somebody who I'm helping beekeeping, she's got her own bees, which are actually over down the end of the apiary at the moment, and the reason they're there is she can't find anywhere to put them, and she lives in a semi-rural area and has contacted 2 farmers and has had so far no luck whatsoever. On the other hand, I've had it extremely easy, and I have to admit that I am sort of almost shocked on how lucky I am with what I've managed to get. Now, the apiary we're in at the moment is Bumble up in Ravenston, and I'm sure you've seen it all before. My bees are over there somewhere, and it's glorious here. It's autumn now, the leaves are coming down, but during the summer you can walk past the sort of copse, edge of the copse, which is just there, and nobody would know I was in here. The farmer doesn't get involved at all, just lets me get on with things. When was it now? About 4 or 5 years ago, when the number of colonies I had here started to get towards the limit I thought was reasonable, so I looked around for another farm. Normally apiaries should be about 3 or so miles apart, and I just popped in at a farm that was about 3.5 miles in fact, just down the road, and said, "Is there anywhere on his farm that I could put some bees?" And Martin said, "Yep, there's a field here, help yourself." And I've done blogs from School End Farm. Now, a little while ago I was contacted by somebody who I knew of by reputation, if nothing else, and I met him because he liked my honey marmalade, and in the course of the conversation he said to me that on his land, and Ted has a huge estate, it's thousands of acres, but on his land in the wood there were some abandoned beehives, and would I like to go and sort that, see what needs to be done. Now, I have said publicly that I am trying to reduce my beekeeping, and I'm doing less and less markets, in fact hardly any at all at the moment. But this place was just too good an opportunity to let pass. And so I said to Ted, yes, I'll be more than happy to sort something out up at the wood, and this is what happened. And up on the top of the hill there is the wood. There's apparently a great wood and a little wood up there, and we are about a mile or so from my house, which is in that direction, and about the same sort of distance in the opposite direction where my bees at Scald End are, which means I'm able to do the wood and the Scald End in much the same run. And the apiary is sort of about there. So let's go and have a look. And here we are at the entrance to the farm, and there's a gate here that has a security code, so I'm just going to stop the camera and put that in. And here we go, very slowly. Back up a little bit, and off we go. Okay, so I'm driving one-handed, so there's a reasonable possibility I'll crash, but hopefully not. And go along this track, and there's the main farm buildings over there, and just here is Tom's house. That's Ted's son, who's running for mayor this year, next year rather. We go around here, and to our right is Ted's house, which is rather wonderful. And I can't see if he's there. He even has his own helicopter pad. So let's go up here. And right in front of us at the top of the hill is the big wood, or great wood, or whatever they call it, and that's where we are heading. So let's go. It gets a bit bumpy along here, so I might just go up on the field. And I might fast forward this bit. And at the bottom here, it bears off to the left. And there's the wood. Rather grand. So going along here. Squirrels everywhere. Down we go. Ooh. And can you see there? Oh, where is it? There it is. That's a little white post I put here simply because I thought I'd never find this place again. So now into the wood we go. the moment, because it's quite dry, this is okay. Obviously it's going to get a bit mucky during the winter. Although I have a Land Rover is useless as an off-road vehicle. So I might have to pick and choose when I come up here. But by and large, it doesn't look too bad. And if you look on the side, it's rather grand, isn't it? So let me go here. There. Crash. That's a very large pheasant release pen over there. I'm going to have a look at it later on. And whoops. Going up, around, and there we are. And here we are at the entrance to the wood. So let's go and see what we can find. And you can probably see the hives back there. And there's one there. And the fencing you can see, and the blue thing, obviously is part of a pheasant release pen, and apparently there was a huge shoot on this farm. And over the other side of the track where I've parked up, there's a huge pen over there, although not in use. So let's go and see what we've got. We have a hive with 1, 2, 3 supers on it. Looks in reasonably good nick. Now over here, couple of little nuke boxes, and then 1, 2, 3 poly nukes, and various bits and pieces, supers, another brood box there, and another sort of partial hive with a brood box, and another one there that has been the roof's been taken off. So there's obviously no bees coming in and out, so everything's dead. So the next thing I'm going to do is just have a look inside. This is the first and see what's there. Hive, and looks in pretty good condition on the outside. I half expected to see holes and things in it from rats and that sort of thing. So this is the super, and let's have a see what. Oh dear. So it's going to be a bit difficult with one hand. And this foundation there, but it's all been eaten, so I expect mice have been at this, and they're all like it. Yep. But that's okay. What I didn't want to find was wax moth. Nothing in there. This looks a bit different. Oh, it's a spider. Ooh. Yeah, it's all the same thing. It's all been eaten. But again, no wax moth. Very nice metal queen excluder. And the brood box. Oh dear. Well, that's okay. It's all been eaten. Doesn't look like any sort of wax moth in there. So, perfectly serviceable. Perfectly serviceable. I'll have a look at the one next to it. Again, nice metal queen excluder. And again, if I can get them out. Oh God. I can't, as I've only got one hand free. But looking into it, lots of propolis on here. Yeah, all the comb's been eaten. Oh, here we go. And it looks like from that there's been residents in here. So let's see what we can find. Okay, again, it's perfectly okay. Polynuke, perhaps surprisingly not eaten by mice. And that's perfectly alright. And then up here, these are the spare bits and pieces. Roof and a brood box and some supers, all in perfectly good condition. And a tray of some sort. And yeah, this is the other pile of stuff. And yep, Polynuke. Got some frames, all been eaten. That's right. Let's have a look at this one. It's in very, blimey. Now that foundation looks absolutely fine. And these are the two little nuke boxes. I'll just flip them so you can see. And yeah, crikey. That's and last one. Even got some fresh foundation in there. Well, I'm very surprised. Bit grubby, but all sound. Now, I think I know who all this stuff belongs to, so I'm going to make some inquiries about that. However, if he doesn't want the stuff, perhaps I'll buy it off him. If he wants to keep it here, which is perfectly fine, that's okay, because I've got enough room to put my bees up here and just ignore all this stuff. So that's the first part of it. Next job, find out who this belongs to, and then after that probably clean it all up. Now the first thing to deal with, I suppose, is the equipment that's already here. I think I said earlier that I think I know who they belong to, but I have a bad feeling that if I make inquiries I might get into a situation I don't want to be in. And as the great philosopher says, so I'm going to ignore these things. I've stacked them all up, put them all together, left them sort of where they are, and if things change, then well, things will change and maybe I'll use them. I'm particularly interested in the polynukes that are down there, but I don't need these boxes. I'm going to bring 2 live colonies of my own up here, and they're probably going to go just there. And also I'm going to bring a couple of empty hives up here, so that ultimately I'm going to have 4. So I don't need the equipment, so I'm just going to leave this stuff where it is. At the entrance here, there's a ditch, looks like, going up the top here, which seems to stop around there and seems to be solid pretty much all the way down here, certainly in front of me. So I think it'll be feasible to drive the Land Rover directly in. I'm going to need to maybe lop a couple of little branches there. Certainly there's plenty of land area rather in there to turn the Land Rover around, and that'll be particularly handy when I want to either take up here or take away heavy things like supers in the summer, and the beehives that I'm going to move up here. Now I do need to lop a few branches off, and I have agreed with the farmer that I will not do anything at large scale like chopping trees down, but I can do some gentle pruning. I think it says for the general purposes of beekeeping, so he doesn't mind. He's happy to let me do what I like up here. So we've had a look at the wood, and I don't know what you think, but I think it's lovely up there. I know I'm supposed to be reducing my beekeeping, but who wouldn't want to keep bees up there? And I'm really looking forward to getting started. The next phase of all of this is to move equipment up there. Now there is a bit of a problem with that, in that this thing here, due to a combination of stupidity and a table saw, I've damaged my hand and I've had sort of surgery and stitches and stuff on it, which means at the moment I can't move anything heavy or manipulate things very easily. So we'll wrap this blog up. The next part of it is going to be once this thing is back to normal, and the thing then will be to move 2 beehives. One is going to be from here, which is over the back there, and one is going to go up from Scald End, and I'm going to move another couple of empty hives up there, so that I can have perhaps 4 hives by the middle of next summer. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.